Badlands. What are the Badlands? Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Herald here on Badlands Media. Hope you're all having a great day. I'm your host, Jon Herold. We got a lot to go through. Yesterday was a crazy day of news. I'm going to have a guest here today. Also, apologies for the intro being kind of cut short over on Rumble. Rumble made an announcement yesterday. We'll get to that at the end of the show, and we'll explain how Badlands Media is going to be handling that. Some breaking news before I get to the sponsors real quick is that it is rumored that Senator Mitch McConnell has fallen down the stairs while departing the Senate. And how much you want to bet? In short order, we're going to find out that USAID was funding Life Alert for our geriatric senators. You know it's coming. Real quick, we're going to get to our sponsors, going to get through some breaking news, going to have our guest on to talk about Trump, Israel, Netanyahu, Gaza, all that stuff. I got some updates on the USAID. There's just so much going on. It's hard to even, it's literally like drinking water from a fire hose right now, but it's what we're here for. We love it. So first up, we got River Bitcoin. River announces Bitcoin interest on cash. Now US dollars in your River account will earn a high yield interest rate that can be paid in Bitcoin. With the price of groceries, mortgage, and tuition on a steep rise, people are now looking at a retirement age of 80 instead of 60. And it's all because dollars are losing value at a record pace. The challenge is finding a way to hold on to your dollar while still getting ahead. And that's where River Bitcoin comes in. River's Bitcoin interest on cash protects your dollars with FDIC insurance while offering you the option to reap the potential gains of Bitcoin. Over the past 2 years, you would have earned 2x the rate of most high-yield savings account and 16x the rate of the national average savings account with Bitcoin interest on cash. Get started at badlandsmedia.tv/river. Move your cash to River today and start earning a real interest rate with Bitcoin. That's badlandsmedia.tv/river. And we actually have some news on Bitcoin as well from yesterday. Let me pull this up quick. Take a listen to this video from David Sachs, the new crypto czar.
What the president instructed us to do was to evaluate the idea for a Bitcoin reserve, and so that is one of the things. That's one of the first things we're going to look at as part of the internal working group in the administration. So as soon as we get all that set up, we're still waiting for some cabinet secretaries who are on the working group to get confirmed. So we're still in the very early stages of this, but that's one of the first things we're going to look at is the feasibility of a Bitcoin reserve.
So the executive order came out a couple weeks ago, a week and a half ago, establishing this committee, naming the crypto czar David Sachs, and creating the committee. They're still waiting on some of the committee members to be confirmed, but one of the first things they're doing is going to be looking at the creation and feasibility of a Bitcoin reserve. He said reserve, not stockpile. So, that's an important distinction, but something to keep your eye on. So we'll see how that goes. Our next sponsor today is Safe Streets. Now is the perfect time to secure your home and your loved ones. Get a free ADT smart home security system valued at $1,200 from ADT authorized provider Safe Streets. Plus, get a Google Nest doorbell camera at no cost and a $200 Visa gift card from Safe Streets, the most trusted name in home security with more than 106,000 4.9 star Trustpilot reviews. Visit getsafestreets.com/badlands or call 925-529-6541. That's 925-529-6541 to speak to a representative today. $99 customer installation charge and purchase of a new monitoring service required for their termination fee to apply. All right. Oh, we got G Money in the chat. I said Bitcoin once, and he just comes running in. Nice to see you, G. All right, some news on confirmations. I got an update from Ash. She is covering the White House press briefing going on right now, and I'm getting a little butthurt that Carolyn Levitt this is like 3 or 4 times now that she's holding a White House press conference over my show. The audacity of her to do such a thing is crazy, but I'll forgive her for now since everything else seems to be going so smoothly at the White House. But first up, we got Pam Bondi was confirmed Monday night. She was sworn in on last night, and there's already news about her, what she's doing. Bondi's DOJ Day 1 directives: fight weaponization of justice, eliminate cartels, lift the death penalty ban. She will issue several major directives on her first day leading the Justice Department, including orders to combat the weaponization of the legal system, make prosecutors seek the death penalty when appropriate, and work with the Department of Homeland Security to completely eliminate cartels and transnational criminal organizations. This just broke before the show, so I haven't had much time to completely dig in. We also have Turner was confirmed on HUD this morning, and they invoked cloture on VOT at OMB. There's two expected to come out of the committee today are Lutnick and Loeffler. Lutnick is with Commerce Department and Loeffler is with the SBA, Small Business Associations. And two Dems actually voted yes on Turner for HUD, which is pretty notable. That's rare. And I think the two Dems were Fetterman and Welch. So Fetterman, he's borderline these days. But we'll keep you posted and up to date on that. Some other news from confirmations or appointments was Anthony Tata. He was assigned to, gosh, I don't remember now, Deputy Secretary of Policy, I think, at the DOD. So we'll keep tabs on that. And we'll talk a lot more about that tonight on the Power Hour. But the biggest news from yesterday, actually, you know what? One more thing. A rumor, this is allegedly coming out today, is a new executive order on keeping men out of women's bathroom. The fact this actually had to be signed in the first place is remarkable. But yes, things got that bad where we have to sign an order from preventing men from going into women's sports. So, okay, the big news, and this is what our guest is going to be on. I'm going to read through a few things before he joins us, and it has to do with yesterday. Trump signed a few documents, a couple executive orders, and he met with Netanyahu and they had a press conference. The two biggie things, the things he signed is withdrawing from a bunch of UN organizations. And right off the bat, I mean, it seems interesting. It's good. I don't think we need to be part of any of these organizations. The part of it that kind of made me, question things a little bit is it seemed to all be because of anti-Israel bias. Okay, the UN Educational Science and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, in particular, will undergo a review under an expedited timeline due to its history of anti-Israel bias. It will prohibit the United States from providing any additional funding to UNRWA, UNRWA, which has consistently shown itself to be anti-Semitic and anti-Israel, as evidenced by the number of its staff members who took part in the horrific October 7th terrorist attacks against Israel. The UN Human Rights Council not fulfilled its purpose, blah, blah, blah. Countries such as Iran, China, Cuba shield themselves. Yeah, I mean, that was basically the gist of it. A lot of this is, and it makes sense that he's signing orders focused on anti-Israel rhetoric with Netanyahu there. The other thing he did is NSPM 2, which was basically reinstating his first-term policies against Iran. The big ones, it would deny Iran nuclear weapon or ballistic missiles. It establishes that Iran's terrorist network should be completely neutralized. Their aggressive development of missiles as well as other asymmetric and conventional weapons capabilities should be countered. Basically, the Secretary of Treasury is going to impose all sorts of sanctions, making sure they don't get any funding. And yeah, it kind of called out the Biden administration for their tolerance of Iran the last 4 years. And like he said in 2020, as long as he's president, Iran will never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. And this NSPM 2 is said to fulfill that promise. So, and then we had this. Let me play a couple clips for you. Let's start with this clip. While you were signing these orders, you got asked a question about Iran.
Why is it you're unhappy to sign it if it's Iran and their proxies who have threatened to retaliate against you and your team by killing you guys for taking out Soleimani?
Well, they haven't done that, and that would be a terrible thing for them to do, not because of me. If they did that, they would be obliterated. That would be the end. I've left instructions. If they do it, they get obliterated. There won't be anything left.
And why?
The way he said that, if they take me out, if I get assassinated, and this has been such a prolonged story from the last year and a half or so, stemming back to Trump's first term when they killed Soleimani. They've been trying to get after Trump, and Trump, before he left office, he instituted this this low-key special operations narrative war against them, and it was carried out under the Biden administration without the Biden administration's knowledge. There were documents allegedly in the Mar-a-Lago documents that were having to do with Iran. I mean, this is a weird back and forth with this story. But the way he said this is, if I get taken out, I have left instructions for the total obliteration of Iran. That's a PED. That's a presidential emergency action document. Like a president order being carried out if he's gone or based on like a situation arising, that's a PED. And it doesn't even make sense because it would be Vance taking over if he were taken out, and then Vance would be the president. And so I just thought it was very interesting the way he phrased it there. But then there was this press conference, the peace in Gaza. They got up there with Netanyahu, and right after this, I'm going to bring our guest on to discuss. We'll take a listen.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years.
All right. So I'm going to bring our guest on and say a few things. You all know our guest. He is, it's Ghost to Base Patrick Henry. How you doing, man?
Hey, man.
Ghost is under explicit instructions to keep it at the TLDR level because we don't have a ton of time on this, and maybe we'll even bring him back tonight on the Power Hour to discuss some of this in more detail. But the reaction I've seen on what Trump did yesterday with Netanyahu and announcing this plan it's kind of been funny. Like, half the people are freaking out over this, saying Trump is owned by Israel by this move, and then you have some people that are just like, trust the plan. This is all still part of the plan. Everything. Everybody's reaction is just emboldened by or exaggerated by the preconceived notion of what Trump is. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I'm just kind of sitting here funny. It's like, I don't necessarily know if the plan they announced yesterday is the actual end goal of what they're trying to accomplish over there. This is just a chess piece to get somebody else to counter. And that is what he wants. You know what I mean? So what's your initial take on this right off the bat? And then I do want to talk about Saudi Arabia and a couple of the other countries and how they're responding too.
Well, I think you had, you're spot on with showing the executive order at the beginning, pulling out of the UN and being anti-Israel biased. The other thing he did was the South Africa executive order. I think that was also about South Africa filing the ICC case, genocide case against Israel. I think that's the reason that he did that. And it was all about the optics for Netanyahu coming in for their negotiation. So that's spot on. I do think that we're going to see the momentum of the Zionist lobby used to decouple from the UN, because a lot of these UN programs, I think, are about surrendering sovereignty to a global government, to an international court or an international body, rather. So I think it's very, very insightful to use that momentum against the regime to pull out of the UN. I think that's a really good play.
Okay, so let me show you how some of the other countries are reacting to this. You got, and this is from the AP News. Trump's Gaza plan has stunned the region. Here's a look at the serious obstacles it faces. President Trump's stunning proposal to forcibly transfer hundreds of thousands of Palestinians out of the Gaza Strip and develop it as a tourist destination faces major obstacles. The Palestinians and many others view such plans as ethnic cleansing, an attempt to drive them from their homeland after Israel's 15-month offensive against Hamas rendered much of it uninhabitable. It was also seen as an attempt to liquidate their decades-long struggle for a state, which has wide international support. Arab countries, including Egypt and Jordan, close U.S. allies at peace with Israel, have condemned the plans and roundly rejected Trump's suggestion that they take in more Palestinian refugees. Saudi Arabia issued a rare overnight statement rejecting the idea of the transfer and reiterating that it won't normalize relations with Israel, a key goal of the Trump administration, without the establishment of a Palestinian state, including Gaza. The proposal also risks undermining the ceasefire in Gaza and the continued release of hostages taken in Hamas' October 7, 2023 attack that triggered the war. Trump has claimed credit for brokering the truce, but its future is now more uncertain. So what's your take on this? Like, where do you think this is ultimately going? What do you think Saudi Arabia is going to do? Because they have come out and they did have a post on Twitter shortly thereafter. I think it was this one, pretty much saying like, I think you clarified it's like an act of war, right?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
This is all non-negotiable for them, and there's cultural reasons for that. That this is completely unacceptable. I think ultimately this is a moment about the sovereign alliance and about the multipolar world order. If you believe in that stuff and you believe that we are entering this golden age where we're not going to be the world police and have a worldwide presence militarily, then you want the multipolar world order to emerge and to work. And for that to happen, these other people, MBS, Xi, Putin, they have to have credibility. They have to be able to have power projection and prevent things like what Trump said yesterday from actually happening. I personally don't think that we're going to see things unfold the way that a lot of the narrative that's spun out of that is going to happen. I do.
What you mean by that is you don't think we're actually going to go over there and rebuild Gaza?
Correct. Okay. To me, that seems antithetical to the whole America First movement. I mean, why should we take our wealth and our treasure and invest it in the Middle East? Why shouldn't we be investing that in America? Like, don't we have a lot of problems to solve here?
I totally agree with you. And so do you think this is a move to get people like Saudi Arabia and Egypt and them to go in there and do it themselves?
Yes, I think ultimately that's what we're going to see happen. I think that the conversation that is sparked from this needs to occur. Like, this needs to be hashed out. This needs to be talked about. The other thing that I think Trump is doing strategically is that he is driving a wedge in the Abraham Accords between the Arab partners and Netanyahu. Remember, Netanyahu held up those maps at the UN last summer and said, the curse was Iran and the blessing was the Arab countries. And he said, we're going to go to war with Iran, with the Arab partners. We expect all of you to join us, the people at the UN to join us. So this is kind of driving a wedge at a critical moment. Trump just put out some rhetoric this morning about we're not going to go to war with Iran, even though that's what Netanyahu says. We're not doing it. There's no way the Arabs are going to partner with him right now, not in this moment. So I think there's a little bit of strategy here. I don't expect to see us actually forcibly remove these people from their land. I think that there are moral, ethical quandaries as well as sovereign alliance stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is certainly different. This war that's been going on over there has been going on for a long time. And, Trump, the businessman, and he's a big picture thinker. This is a move that I don't think I've seen proposed before or floated before. And so this is certainly a big picture move for, even if it's not the way even if it's not going to go down the way he said it is, just the idea of, hey, the United States is going to go take over this area and we're going to rebuild it into something great. We're going to get rid of all the Hamas terrorists out of there. That's never been thought of before. So if that isn't the actual end goal, like what do you actually think is going to be like a year from now, looking at the Gaza Strip? What do you think it looks like? And one more thing real quick before you answer that, there is this that came out in 2024. This was leaked, I believe, from Netanyahu, and it's got his vision for Gaza 2035. And it's essentially a rebuilt. It's almost a lot about what Trump said yesterday. That's what this is. Have you seen this before?
I actually haven't seen this before. I've heard rumors about something like this, but I haven't actually seen this.
Yeah, I'll send this to you. I can't believe I've seen something Middle Eastern related that you haven't.
Yeah, right? Yeah, this is interesting. But I mean, it also alludes to the fact that a week after October 7th, there were documents leaked from the Israeli government that showed that there were plans to do exactly what Trump's talking about doing to Gaza right now. There were plans months before October 7th from the Israeli government that Netanyahu was planning on doing that. So that's now been rehashed, and people are now talking about that coincidence. So I don't think that any of this is ultimately long-term serving the interests of Netanyahu's regime. I think that conversations are now going to happen that are going to be detrimental to people who want to see perpetual war. And you also now are going to see an opportunity for not only the Arab countries to come together and push back and find a peaceful solution to all this, but also the sovereign alliance, because I don't expect Xi and Putin to stand by and allow this to happen. If they do, they lose a lot of credibility on the world stage about the multipolar world order and the ability to stop America from going around and imposing itself on other countries, which effectively is what this plan would call for.
Has there been any comments from Putin or Xi on this yet?
I haven't seen anything yet, but I expect we're going to get something here soon. I mean, my expectation is that Trump is coordinating with all these guys behind the scenes. Marco Rubio and the Saudi foreign minister spoke on the phone like hours before the press conference yesterday. So I think there's a lot of coordination happening, but yeah, I mean, if you look at this from the perspective of other countries, this has to be resolved in a way that isn't about just putting America on top of everybody else and standing on their throat. Like if we have that approach, then we're no different than Obama, Hillary, George Bush. You know?
Yeah, that's fascinating. How do you expect them to respond? I mean, they're likely going to have the same rhetoric as Saudi Arabia, right?
Oh yeah, they're definitely going to flex and say there's like over a dead body, you're going to allow this to happen. But it's interesting because on Monday, Reuters put out that Riyadh is now the most likely site for the Ukraine peace settlement summit. Like we will see Putin and Trump together in Riyadh, which is the capital of Saudi Arabia, to do the peace summit for Ukraine.
And when is that going to be?
They don't have a date yet, but they're just saying that the people who are planning it are saying that the UAE or Riyadh are the two most likely places. I think it ends up going to Saudi.
Okay. Another question. So Eric Trump, I believe it was, not long ago, had talked about, the beachfront property in Gaza. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah. Jared Kushner as well.
Yeah. So isn't this kind of the plan, at least as it was announced yesterday? Isn't this in line with that rhetoric too?
Yes. It's also, I think Israeli media is now reporting that this plan was Jared Kushner's idea, this whole thing that Trump said yesterday, which may or may not be true, but you're right. It's right in line with what they've said before. A real estate development project is not necessarily nefarious. It's just what are the logistics involved, and how do we get everyone to play nice in the sandbox?
Yeah, I mean, again, America first perspective. I don't want our troops there. I don't want our money going there. Like, we're having this whole big thing about, cutting off foreign aid, and that's like been the highlight of the news the last few days. And then Trump comes out and talks about, we're going to go take it over, we're going to rebuild it, and whatnot. Maybe there's even a potential for long-term ownership. It just doesn't make any sense. It's a little contradictory.
The timing is kind of incredible because on Monday, everyone was doing cartwheels over the USAID thing getting shut down. And then the next day, it's like, now we're talking about sending money back to Gaza to build for nation building, which is like a term out of the George Bush era. So again, I think all this is a rug. I don't think it's going to go the way that some people believe it is. But these conversations need to happen. Like, it's important for us to talk about it so that we can maintain a first principles mindset and also regain or condition ourselves for self-governance, because that's what this whole era should be about, is transitioning. What does the world look like when Trump is done in 12 years being president, right?
12 years. Last question. So you said you think this is going to be a rug pull on Netanyahu. So one, yes. Do you think he saw this coming? Was he in on it? Like, did he know Trump was going to announce this plan there? Because there's some video floating around where people are saying he looks surprised. And then two, what do you think the rug pull is?
That video is fascinating. I do think that is a potential. And you talked about Soleimani before I came on. Trump has talked about many times how angry he is. He says, I will never forgive Bibi because the day before they backed out and didn't want to participate, and we had to go get Soleimani on our own without them. And he said, I'll never forgive it. And then he said, Bibi took credit for it, tried to take credit for it.
Love it.
I'm sorry, keep talking.
Yeah. So your second question, what is the rug pull? Well, I think the rug pull, how does this thing get resolved? Because I know that there are people, you have two sides. You have the people who love Israel and the people who hate Israel. The people who love Israel want to see the Arabs displaced or whatever, and see, all of Palestine become Israel. That seems like that's going to cause a war. The people who hate Israel want to see the rest of the world come together and bomb it out of existence. That's also going to start a war, like a world war. So what's the middle ground? The middle ground is probably the Israeli people taking back their sovereignty from this cartel that I think is represented by Bibi Netanyahu. Kind of like how we had to do that in America, right? So we need to see this organic grassroots uprising in Israel. What does that look like? We're seeing a lot of signs of it occurring because of the restlessness surrounding the hostage negotiations and how that has all unfolded, how it's been delayed for whatever, a year and a half. Trump came in and immediately got the deal put in place. I think that we might see Netanyahu's government collapse because he eventually will see people resign, and that is going to force him out. New elections scheduled, and then maybe someone like Benny Gantz come in, who Trump said he wanted as prime minister anyway. So
interesting. So, any other closing thoughts? What are you looking to see next? Like, what do you think is the next news to come out regarding the situation?
More information on what he meant yesterday when he talked about us taking quote unquote ownership. Like, is there going to be a military occupation? Like, do we need to have military, like security forces there, so to speak? The Iran thing is very interesting because you're seeing Trump push back hard against a war with Iran, while Netanyahu and others are saying we got to strike now. Like, now's the time to strike them. And then also Putin. I think that we're going to see I expect to see a reconciliation with Putin prior to Netanyahu being confronted by Trump.
Gotcha. Well, awesome, man. Thank you for coming on. You did great keeping it to the bullet points. That was awesome. We'll have to have you on again.
I like your, despite the rumors, I like your concise packaging on the show. I think it's a good format.
I appreciate that, man. We'll definitely have you back on again. And maybe we'll see you tonight. I'll talk to you off air, but thank you, Ghost.
Yep. Sounds good, man.
We are going to keep cruising through here because we got so much more to get through. I think I do have a couple comments or clips I'm going to play from, or did I delete those? Dang it. No, I didn't. Here's National Security Advisor Mike Waltz on this.
As the president said last night, it's not just 1, 2, 3, or even 4. It could be multiple nations involved. We welcome their proposals, but the practical reality is for 10, 15 years, I don't know that we have 2 million people literally living in tents with, barely surviving. So those things were discussed. And Martha, I'll just take you back to moving our embassy to Jerusalem, recognizing the Golan Heights, even the idea of peace with the Abraham Accords were all labeled impossible and fantastical and ridiculous in his first term. And now it's happened. So President Trump is unorthodox. He is thinking big, but he is also, if you actually listen to his words, thinking about, what is a real alternative for the Palestinian people to live in peace and have, a bright future for the next generation. And then
I like what he said here, especially at the beginning when he's talking about we are open to alternative ideas from other people. We want partners in this. Because I think the thing about this situation over there is actual peace has been stagnant. Like, there's been no true movement towards actual peace in this area for a long, long time. And so it needed a shakeup. And that's what Trump offered yesterday. And, it hasn't even been 12 hours, or maybe it hasn't been 24 hours for sure. It's the immediate reactions to this is the worst thing ever. Trump is sold out to Israel. I saw a guy post on Twitter yesterday that this proves Trump is the Antichrist. Like, the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's these emotional instant reactions to the news instead of just like pausing, understanding, trying to see what might actually be going on. We haven't even seen the plan yet. We saw a press conference talking about it, and it's just step one. It's shaking up the dice, and let's see who else gets involved here. But it has to be initiated somehow. You can't just have talks back and forth and people breaking sides of the agreement and the truce and the ceasefires. And you could do that forever. They probably could have done that forever. But this gets the ball rolling now. Because as Trump has proven, when he says something, he intends on following through until he gets what he wants. And if he wants somebody else to take it over, this move will initiate that process. So let's just stay tuned and see what happens. Very much looking forward to seeing the actual peace stuff or the actual plans for this come out. And then we also have this from Rubio. He says, Gaza must be free from Hamas. As POTUS shared today, the United States stands ready to lead and make Gaza beautiful again. Our pursuit is one of lasting peace in the region for all people. And I think Trump can accomplish it. Okay, so there's a lot more news with USAID. Again, this has been all over the place these last few days because so much is being uncovered and there's so much to this. We talked about it yesterday. We'll probably talk about it a little bit every day as we go forward. But they're starting to talk about all the things that USAID was funding and getting more granular with the details of it. And it's quite remarkable. This is what Rapid Response 47, this is an official White House associated account. They're meant to combat the mainstream media news and whatnot, holding the fake news accountable. Let me read through some of these ridiculous projects that they spent the money on. $7.9 million to teach Sri Lankan journalists how to avoid binary gendered language. $20 million for a new Sesame Street show in Iraq. $4.5 plus million to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan. $1.5 million for art for inclusion of people with disabilities. $2 million for sex changes and LGBT activism in Guatemala. Guys, this is your tax dollars. $6 million to transform digital spaces to reflect feminist democratic principles. $2.1 million to help the BBC value the diversity of Libyan society. $10 million worth of USAID funded meals, which went to an Al-Qaeda linked terrorist group. $25 million for Deloitte to promote green transportation in the country of Georgia. $6 million for tourism in Egypt. $2.5 million to promote inclusion in Vietnam. $16.8 million for separate inclusion groups in Vietnam. About $5 million to EcoHealth Alliance, one of the key NGOs funding bad virus research at Wuhan. $20 million for group related to a key player in the Russiagate impeachment hoax. $1.1 million to an Armenian LGBT group. $1.2 million to help the African Methodist Episcopal Church Service and Development Agency in Washington, D.C. build a state-of-the-art 440-seat auditorium. $1.3 million to Arab and Jewish photographers. $1.5 million to promote LGBT advocacy in Jamaica. $1.5 million to rebuild the Cuban media ecosystem. I can go on, but I don't want to read all this. These are hard words. Oh, $6.3 million for men who have sex with men in Africa. So $6.3 million for gay dudes. It's crazy. I was doing some research too on the side. Like they've established groups, subgroups within USAID, all for democracy. We went over a little bit that yesterday, but these people, not only are they funding all these pet projects, and a lot of that is probably money laundering anyway, but it's the way the CIA is embedded here, and it's the regime change. That's what this is, and it's all being exposed. And Elon Musk is posting so much information about this. Mike Benz is having a field day with this as well. He's uncovering a whole bunch of stuff. But where I'm getting like, holy cow, this is BS. And it's very in line with stuff we've been talking about on Badlands for a while, is their funding of media. Politico has been awarded $34.3 million from USAID. Politico, one of the fake news people. Like, this is our competition. Our government has been funding the competition to Badlands Media. And this is how they push their narratives and the propaganda. It's not just the money they get from their sponsors, like the Pfizers and the pharmaceutical companies and whoever. It's our government. Politico has what's called a Political Pro service. And I don't even know why, but it's like $10,000 a subscription. And our government just buys up a whole bunch of them. And that's how they fund them. It's crazy. I saw Reuters was funded by them. I'm curious to see who else. We're going to get to the bottom of it. But that's what we've been up against. And it's all coming out. And what's even more hilarious about all this, well, here, let me show one more thing. Mike Benz posted this yesterday. For the last couple of days, the USAID website was down. It came back online yesterday. And let me make this a little bigger. That's what she said. Just it came back online yesterday, and this is what it said. This is the only thing you can get to on the website. On Friday, February 7th, 2025, all USAID direct hire personnel will be placed on administrative leave globally, with the exception of designated personnel responsible for mission-critical functions, core leadership, and specially designated programs. But basically, they're firing everybody all over the globe. Everybody associated with USAID has gotten their termination letter on the website, and it's incredible. I can't imagine what else they found. There's rumors and hints out there of, if you thought this was bad, wait till you see what's coming. Don't know what it's referring to, but Elon Musk even like reposted one of those things and just said yes. So there's more. And if you go to Zero Hedge, I won't go through all this, but everybody's talking about Politico, New York Times, given millions of dollars from the U.S. government. It's kind of what we just went through. But again, it's the fake news media that have been subverting Trump, the enemy of the people, right? That Trump has said, declared them the enemy of the people. 100% accurate, and very much so funded by the government itself. And then let's talk about this quick too. When Politico, funded by the USAID, is calling the Democrats out for the losing message that is fighting against defunding the USAID, you know that the Democrats have lost the plot. Like, not only is Trump flooding the zone with so much stuff that he's doing, so much great stuff, by the way, but just so much stuff generally, the mainstream media and the Democrats are having a hard time responding because they can't organize the messaging. And the thing about it is, the messaging that they do organize, nobody cares. It's a losing messaging, and that's what they're talking about in this article. After 3 months of soul searching about how to revive their party, some Democrats this week believe they have finally found a rallying point following Donald Trump's presidential victory. Billionaire Elon Musk's campaign to dismantle the federal bureaucracy piece by piece at Trump's behest, starting with the U.S. Agency for International Development, lit a fire under many Democratic lawmakers, several of whom rallied Monday outside USAID headquarters. But relaunching the resistance to defend one of the least popular corners of the federal budget could be a monster miscalculation, and some prominent Democrats told me they have serious strategic reservations about how their party is fighting back. When I asked veteran strategist David Axelrod whether Democrats were walking into a trap on defending foreign aid, he literally finished my sentence. When you talk about cuts, the first thing people say is cut foreign aid. Rahm Emanuel, you don't fight every fight, you don't swing at every pitch. And my view is, while I care about the USAID as a former ambassador, that's not the hill I'm going to die on. The federal bureaucracy is very unpopular. It's a pretty wildly held majority position. If you pull it, people think the government is wasting money. And very simply, that's the battle we're fighting. One senior Trump administration official told me Tuesday. The Democrats are now taking the opposite position. Everything's perfect. Nothing to look at here. No money's wasted. All your tax dollars are being spent well. Not a very politically tenable position. And then a couple more things here. Democrats aren't reading the room. Trump's team believes his America First stance has resonated beyond his own base, and it has. They're not sorry or apologizing for targeting foreign aid. And then Axelrod reflects the Democrat Party's broader existential crisis. How, he has been asking himself lately, did the party of working people become a party of elite institutions? They've become a stalwart defender of institutions at a time when people are enraged at the institutions. And what's so funny about it is they've been protesting. Democrat politicians have been showing up to the USAID building, and there's being protests organized all across the country right now. But let me show you some of these clips. It's absolutely ludicrous. Here is, and these might be a little loud, so I can't really control the volume, but this is LaMonica McCliver. I don't know her name, but she's this outside the USAID building. This is what she was doing. Oops.
We will not take this. We will fight back. Fight back. Fight back. And as I close out, because I know we've been out here for a long time, and God damn it, shut down the Senate. We are at war. Anytime a person can pay $250 million into a campaign and they be given full access to the Department of Treasury of the United States of America, we are at war.
We're at war over foreign aid. You had Chuck and Maxine. This isn't the full clip, but
we will win. We will win. We will win. We will win. We will win.
Insane. Here we got Jamie Raskin.
Are you willing to fight day and night, dawn and dusk, to fight Elon Musk and take our government back? My friends,
Had Trump uttered these words, he would have been impeached or, whatever, charged for inciting an insurrection. And speaking of impeachment, we have this guy. Listen to this. We got the first articles of impeachment filed against Trump, and they came from Al Green.
I rise to announce that the movement to impeach the president has begun. I rise to announce that I will bring articles of impeachment against the president for dastardly deeds proposed and dastardly deeds done. I also rise to say that the impeachment movement is going to be a grass-up movement, not a top-down. The people have got to move forward. The people have to demand it. And when the people demand it, it will be done. I did it before. I laid the foundation for impeachment, and it was done. Nobody knows more about it than I. And I know that it's time for us to lay the foundation again. On some issues, it is better to stand alone than not stand at all. On this issue, I stand alone, but I stand for justice.
For those who have watched any of our live coverage of Congress and like the votes, whatever it is, anytime this guy gets up to cast his vote in favor of a speaker or a topic, anything, a bill, he always like goes on some short little tirade and whines about racial injustice and all these things. And that it's comical. So it makes perfect sense that this is the clown that they put up there to be the one to file the first articles of impeachment against Donald Trump. Obviously not going to go anywhere, but it's just really, really funny and interesting, guys. The Democratic Party is they're done for, in my opinion, especially if we can just fix our elections. I hope that's coming from Trump. We'll see what happens. But if we fix our elections, there's really no reason the Democrats should hold power ever again over an America First candidate, because look at what they're fighting the America First agenda. They're fighting corrupt foreign aid dollars. They're impeaching Trump over cutting corrupt, wasteful spending. It's wild. Absolutely wild. Okay, one more story here. We got through a lot of this stuff quicker than I thought we would, so that's good. Full disclosure, I thought Gordon, even though I prepped him, I was like, dude, TLDR, keep it short, keep it to the bullet points. I thought for sure he was going to do his Gordon thing and be a little autistic over it all, but he did great. And so I'm definitely more comfortable having him on moving forward. But that means we got through a lot of the news. I rushed through it and I didn't need to. The CIA is about to get a Trump makeover. The Central Intelligence Agency offered buyouts to its entire workforce Tuesday in what officials said is a bid to bring the agency in line with President Trump's priorities, including targeting drug cartels. The CIA appeared to be the first intelligence agency to tell its employees that they can quit their jobs and receive about 8 months of pay and benefits as part of Trump's push to downsize the federal government. The offer last month made to most civilian federal agencies exempted some categories of federal workers, including those with national security roles. The agency is also freezing the hiring for job seekers already given a conditional offer. An aide to CIA Director John Ratcliffe said some are likely to be rescinded if the applicants don't have the right background for agency's new goals, which also include Trump's trade war and undermining China. Yeah, we got Ratcliffe in there. He's a China hawk. But yeah, so this originally Trump's furlough or whatever, his offer to, buy you out of your contract, it wasn't to the CIA or any of the intel agencies. It was everybody else. But now John Ratcliffe has opened it up to the CIA as well. And so these people are under a microscope here. I'm curious how many take this. But again, he's holding nothing back in any of this. He's not slowing down. They're cutting the BS and going right through it. This is crazy though. Across government agencies, overall interest in the deferred resignation offer appears to be low. Career coaches focused on the federal workforce say, citing conversations with more than 100 people, many people have questions about whether they are legally able to take another job during the payout period or whether they can return to government under a future administration. There's no statutory authority that I can see for the president making this offer, said Tim Kaine, notorious D-bag, who represents tens of thousands of federal workers, and said no constituents have told him they are taking the deal. Doing so presents risk. He said, the administration immediately knows you don't want to work for me. They'll find some other way to get rid of you. you should not raise your hand. And the last thing here, the Trump administration officials have said the offers are meant to signal to those who oppose Trump's agenda to find work elsewhere. Ratcliffe told the White House to extend the same buyout package to the CIA. The aide said, believing it would pave the way for a more aggressive spy agency. Trump's just trying to root out all the people that have been working against his agenda for ever. Like the entire first term, all those people are going to be gone. Like we haven't even gotten to the good part yet. Right now we are stripping back all the bad stuff from Trump's administration. The next phase is the actual like rebuilding phase and turning everything on and full speed ahead. Like when you are doing a construction project at your house, if you're remodeling your house, the first thing you do is take it down all the drywall, destroy it, you demolish. It's a demolition project at first. That's what we're witnessing right now. We're witnessing the demolition. The actual remodeling comes after this phase. And so if you think we're winning now, we haven't even seen the results of what this is going to do yet. It's going to be incredible. The before and after pictures are going to be just fantastic. All right, I got like 13 minutes. I was way ahead of schedule. So I'm going to scan through and see if there's anything. Here's Carolyn Levitt. If you're watching over on our other channel, this is what she apparently just said. I haven't listened to this, so I have no idea what it's going to say, but
I was made aware of the funding from USAID to media outlets, including Politico, who I know has a seat in this room. And I can confirm that the more than 8 million taxpayer dollars that have gone to essentially subsidizing subscriptions to Politico on the American taxpayers' dime will no longer be happening. The Doge team is working on canceling those payments now. Again, this is a whole of government effort to ensure that we are going line by line when it comes to the federal government's books. And this president and his team are making decisions across the board on, do these receipts serve the interests of the American people? Is this a good use of the American taxpayers' money? If it is not, that funding will no longer be sent abroad, and American taxpayers will see significant savings because of that effort.
Here's a good point too, about the Politico scandal. This is from Sean Davis on Twitter. It was Politico that maneuvered to have the Hunter laptop story banned and everyone discussing it censored. Politico peddled the illegal Supreme Court leak that led to the near assassination of multiple Supreme Court justices. And now we found out the regime was funneling tens of millions of dollars of our money to Politico. And again, I think we're just scratching the surface of how big of a scandal this is. Like just scratching the surface, because not only were they paid by the government and these intel agencies, but they were paid to run cover. And remember what Trump said and what Bill Barr even said back in the day about the 51 intel agencies and how they stole the election, like how that swung the election for Biden. And it was like a 17%. Polling said 17% of the people would have voted for Trump had they known about this story, had it not been buried, had it not been called Russian disinformation. Our government paid to have Politico help steal the election. And again, it's not that much money. I see D-Dale DD in the chat. This is chump change, in my opinion. Yeah, it is kind of chump change. But imagine what they're doing with the rest of the money. Okay, yeah. Somebody asked about the Rumble announcement. Let me show you guys what's going on. This will be the last thing we talk about here. 1 second. Let me pull up their Twitter feed. So Rumble has been teasing a new creator program, and we've been expecting this to come for a little bit. Yeah, we weren't sure what it was going to be, and we're still kind of kicking back and forth on how we're going to handle this. But let me just read through it here. This is the actual details of it. So we can enroll in their creator program, and this is supposed to be additional funding for like media, essentially. So like we get money from Rumble through they bring us sponsors sometimes. We get rants from them. We get a small amount of money for people just watching the videos and suffering through the ads, which we know has been its own thing. But now this is their new program to go on top of everything else. We don't get the government money from the USAID, guys. We don't get that sweet, sweet tax dollars. Eligibility begins on February 4th. The program kicks off on March 1st. So that was yesterday, and it kicks off on March 1st. In order to enroll, creator must have at least 100 total followers. We got that at the time of enrollment. You must have streamed at least 30 hours via Rumble Studio in the last 30 consecutive days prior to enrolling. And this is the one part of it that's going to be tough for us, because Rumble Studio has been out for a long time, and we haven't used it at Badlands Media because it doesn't really work with our model. Like, I have a Rumble account, and there's a couple people with access to it, and everybody streams to it. We have that's all great. But with Rumble Studio, in order for people to use it and stream to Badlands, they would have to get access to my login information, and it's just, I don't feel comfortable giving every single person in Badlands my login info, because you never know. We've been kind of infiltrated and subverted in the past. I just don't want somebody to mess with it and delete our entire account. Like, that would be a nightmare. So I can't really give that out to everybody. Number two, they only allow one stream to be scheduled at a time through Studio. So we stopped using Studio a long time ago, but I'm actually using it right now. And so I might use it with just my shows just to get the 30 hours through Rumble Studio to see how it works. The tough part then is this down here. In order to qualify for, like, whatever, I think my understanding of it is there's going to be a pool of money that Rumble sets aside each month, and it's going to be divvied out to people who meet the program's requirements. And I don't know how they're going to divvy it out. I don't know the details yet, which is why I kind of want to just participate and see how it goes. But the hard part is that you need 5 hours of content that must be streamed to Rumble Premium. And so I think a reason they're doing this is that we would kind of get paid on new Rumble signups, new subscribers, minutes watched, all these things. They want more people to sign up to Rumble, and you can basically essentially use a Rumble or a Badlands promo code or signing up through us, and we would get kind of credit for that if we meet all the requirements. And it's the 5 hours of content only to premium subscribers that we're going to struggle with, because we don't want to put anything behind a paywall. And I'm very firm in my belief of that. My one thought process of working around this is we could do streams that are only to Rumble premium subscribers, but then they're free for everybody on YouTube and X. So it's kind of a workaround where it's not behind a paywall. You could go to YouTube or X and watch it. It'll just be streamed to the Rumble premium subscribers. And that's probably how we're going to do it this first month, just to see, how it goes. But these are going to be additional streams, like just random streams. I'm not going to put any of our normal content behind the paywall, but I'll keep you posted on this as we go. But that's why it's important, guys, to make sure you're subscribed to us on YouTube. For this show, it's youtube.com/@TDHerold, HEROLD. And then I think we have a Badlands Clips channel as well. We'll get that shared around. But yeah, guys, this is all I got for today. I'm going to play the outro. I'll come back in a second to read the rants and maybe do a Rumble Studio ad if I can figure out how to do it, just to see, 'cause it's been so long. But yeah, we'll see you tonight on the Devolution Power Hour, 10:30 Eastern, and then back here again tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. All the news you can get in under an hour from the Daily Herald, only on Badlands Media.
Let's get started. That's what she said.
Oh, that's real good.
Why they stopping me?
All right, everybody. We got some rants here. Graham RGB says, Badlands Media, the Daily Herald, is a great source of news and information. Thank you for all your work. Thank you. 12 Indie Boy, Trump Tower in Gaza next year. Maybe we were talking about GART Gaza someday, but we'll see how it actually plays out. Thank you for the rant, though. Looking forward to seeing you at GART Vegas. Get your tickets, guys. Badlandsmedia.tv/events. PM911. Agree with Ghost. Great format. Great show. Thanks, guys. And Sweet P22, appreciate all you do, John. Love the show. After 6 virtual GARTs, I'm excited for the chance to meet fellow Badlanders in person in Vegas. That is awesome. Looking forward to seeing you and meeting you as well. Thank you for the support. And Whiskey Girl, the new show feels like the old days, except now I'm not afraid to be in the chats. LOL. Thanks, John. See you in Las Vegas. Looking forward to seeing you and Fat Chance in Vegas as well, Whiskey Girl. That's all the rants. Okay, so I'm going to try. Just bear with me here, guys. Or you can tune out if you want to or whatever. But since I'm going through Rumble Studio anyway, they have these campaigns. I'm going to see how these work. Because like I said, we don't get that sweet government cash. Let's try this. But the difficult part is I'm streaming through StreamYard, and I think there's a delay. So it's going to pop up on the screen. I'm going to have to wait for it. It's going to be awkward. But let's just see how it goes. Because we're going to have to figure out a way to work with Rumble on this. And I don't know. It's the stuff we got to do to survive. You know, we're not getting the money like everybody else is. We still haven't gotten ads from everybody else, but we're going to work with Rumble and see what we can do to make this fit Badlands model. But this sponsorship is from Rumble, one that is incredibly important to the survival of the company. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. I can vouch for that. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden-Harris administration. Rumble did not. They held the line. They are attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They are attacked in corporate media. They are attacked by governments like France. They are attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers. They don't get much of it. I can relate to that as well. Watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you, but if you really believe in this fight, and if you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with the promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium and use promo code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we are just happy if you watch us on Rumble and give us that thumbs up as well. Was that awkward? How'd that work out? Anyway. Well, guys, I think that's it. Can't think of anything else, so let me check my text, see if there's anything. Yeah, I think that's all I got. So you guys have a great rest of your day. We'll see you tonight on the Power Hour and tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern.